Well, hello everybody.
What's up,
Brandon's
guys?
here, and I'm here. Brandon just took off his hard hat, and the studio is still under construction
We're
as
not
we get.
talking about it. We're going to move on.
Yeah, and
We're going to let it go, guys.
but you won't believe it when this is done because the plans that he's got for this 5,000 square foot studio,
To cram them in this corner is amazing.
how to that's going to be the title of your next thing is how to cram 5,000 square feet into 50.
I'm telling you right now, I feel like I should go to IKEA because they have the room set up where they're like, if you have an 800 square foot apartment, this is what you can put in. If you
Right,
have a 100 square foot room, this is
right.
anyway, whatever. Anyway, we're back.
I'm looking for that book that says how to convert your toilet room into a recording studio.
Hey, I used to record in my closet before. Great sound in there, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Although you know what I had to go get a hearing test, and all, and they use like phone booths. They're
Mm,
about the size of phone booths, but absolutely soundproof. And
amazing.
they are so cool. And I happened to say to the audiologist that was there, I said, what do you know where you can get one of these? He said, yeah, you can go online and find old booths and everything, recording booths
That's
that
awesome.
you can use.
I would do that.
Yeah, I mean, just stick it right in the corner, plug it in, and you're ready to
Hmm.
go.
We're on to something,
Whoops,
guys.
wait a minute. Now we're going back for a redesign.
Knock it down, guys. Anyway, what's happening? What are we talking about today?
Hey, I was just thinking about stuff that we used to get into when we were kids, and I mean, if you can dial back that far, and I mean, if you want to talk about what you did as a young man or as a teenager, but I was even going back further, and I'm not sure where I came up with it, but I think it was because the kids are out on these little razors and skateboards and everything. I remember when we were kids how we would build our own little soapboxes or something. You get old used roller skates or something and some two by
Okay.
fours and attach them to make our own stuff, and then take it out and on a hill. And you used to make stuff to slide down hills in the winter, and then
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for
put wheels
sure.
on it. Did you do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we did. I mean, big into, we would make things, we make little contraptions. We were big fort builders. That was huge for us, especially when I moved out into South Lyon, because it was a big, nothing out there. So like you had all these fields and woods and crap, and we would do a lot of big forts. It wouldn't just be like, hey, we're making this little fort. We would have multiple forts throughout throughout the whole area, like we were about to invade because there was so much construction. We would go steal, not steal. I shouldn't say that. We would go,
Repurpose.
yes, because well, they would throw all the scraps in a pile
Right, right.
and
Exactly.
big chunks of wood. So we take that wood, and then we also, while we were doing that, we needed money for supplies. What does a 14-year-old need money for? 13-year-old need money for? So we would collect all of the pop cans and pop bottles and beer bottles because in Michigan, you take them back and you get 10 cents or 5 cents or whatever it is.
Right, right.
And we would take them back and get cash and then go buy whatever we want. So yeah, we would do that.
Yeah, we did this the same thing, and I grew up in a neighborhood that was not completed. In fact, when we moved in, we were probably the immediate neighborhood was only like 20% completed. So there
Yeah.
was always a construction site where they were building a house, and like
Hmm.
you said, pieces of plywood became your little fort's roof.
Roof or
Uh,
floor, you put it on the floor, and then that way you could, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you build little ladders to make a second story,
Hmm.
and you run over to the hardware store, and like you said, the money that you collected, you usually used to buy the penny nails, the to use to put the stuff together.
Well, we would go one step further. We would take all the bent up nails from the construction site that were laying around.
Yeah,
We would just grab all those and repurpose those. We there was a couple stores by us that we would walk to. One of them was Irwin's Apple Orchards. Actually, one of my first jobs ever was at Irwin's, and we would cut across the field. Now we weren't allowed to go to a certain part of the field because it was private property. We did anyway. It was a shorter route.
right, sure,
And the house was so far away, like they were never going to see us. And we cut across Pontiac Trail, I believe it is, and we go into Irwin's, and then we buy some candy, ice cream, snacks, sodas, haul it back to the fort, and we have our own little coolers there. Keep it there overnight. Come back, have our sodas. Parents never knew.
yeah. No, honestly, that's almost mirrors what we did because we had one of the original igloos that you would
Yeah.
put inside, and then what you do is when you'd go to the store and you'd get like a Slurpee or
Hmm.
so, you'd really fill it up with ice because that ice you'd put into a
To put it
plastic
in the
bag and put it in the igloo cooler to keep the stuff cool. But yeah, and you were only limited by your imagination.
100%.
I remember we used to get the plastic piping that was from the
Hmm.
construction site too, and you'd use that to collect rainwater, and also sometimes to use in inside your fort too. And then you'd I mean it was those were the days of imagination.
Yeah, and I think it's, like, well, the other cool thing too was we would go explore a lot. And I mean, it was like Goonies Stand By Me stuff. And we had a nature trail that divided our subdivision. And the trail would go way deep, but our subdivision and this other subdivision, Deer Creek, I'm dropping these names for people that watch that may be familiar. And matter of fact, this was years later. I would cross that because there was a girl that I was, hanging out with in the next subdivision. So that was a perfect little divide. But anyway, so we would go on this nature trail, but there was this other part and it would flood because it was kind of like a marshland almost.
Okay.
And it had this giant tree that went all the way down into it. We would climb on that tree and have our own little area to explore for frogs, snakes, salamanders, leeches, unfortunately. Those were a thing. But yeah,
Yeah, you mentioned snakes. I have an aversion for snakes
we
now
know you
because
do.
we had a like a wooded area just again separating our neighborhood from the next, and we used to explore in there too. And the day I went through, and it was a harmless snake, but it was a racer snake or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
just black snake ran across my foot. Gee, I mean, I don't know if to this day I ever jumped that high, but I turned around and I abandoned the rest of my friends and I was home underneath the covers probably within 10 minutes. And I swore I would never go into those woods again. And
We
if I
would
did,
catch snakes.
and if I did, I certainly wasn't the point man.
We would catch snakes. So we would
Oh,
go and lift up boards and nine times out of 10, the only snakes we saw were gardener snakes. But then you'd have the occasional rat snake, which again, not poisonous. Not
no,
many poisonous snakes in Michigan, not to say there aren't. There's a
right.
couple areas,
Yeah.
but it's not like Texas, which by the way, I should send you a picture. The other day, I sent it to my mom. The other day, I was walking this trail. It was a new trail. I didn't have Luke, but I just wanted to go for a walk on a new trail. And this trail's by like a runoff for the water. And I saw this thing come out, and I look and I go, "Oh, that's a snake." And it was a pretty big snake. From a distance, can't really tell what it is. You know it's a big snake. From the shape, it could be a water moccasin. Most likely it's a rattlesnake. Could be nothing, could be harmless.
Yeah.
And I didn't get too close, but I look and I go, "Oh, that's a rattlesnake." This thing was huge. I'll send you the picture later. It went across the dirt, and I looked at it like, "You're good, man. I'm just I'm gonna turn around now. My time's up. And it didn't care about me at all. And it wasn't close enough to where it could strike me. It just wasn't. But it was that big that I could see it from the distance. And all it wanted to do was get in that water anyway. But I digress. So
No, my run in with rattlesnakes was when I was in the Army. I was stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas. I wasn't married at the time, and I was in the what's called the BOQ, Bachelor Officers Quarters. So I had a roommate, and my roommate was a backwoods kind of guy. And I remember I move in and I opened up the refrigerator to put my goods. Here's my shelves over here and all. And I open up the freezer and there are these plastic bags with strange looking things in them, and I didn't know what they were. And I asked my roommate at the time. He said, "Oh, those are rattlesnakes." He would go out into the desert, and he would catch rattlesnakes. I don't know what he was saving them for.
eating them? Did he eat them?
And I don't know. I never answered. I never questioned. And I also never had any frozen food of my own that went into that freezer next to his rattlesnakes. I just pretty much stuck to the refrigerator. But I remember there must have been 20 of them
That's
in
kind of
there.
weird, man.
Yeah, but
I mean, he's either making stuff out of them, like boots and wallets and stuff, or he's eating them, which is weird,
yeah,
or he's into some weird voodoo stuff, man.
yeah. I just
Yeah, just
fortunately,
mind your business. Sometimes you don't need to know.
fortunately, I was able about 4 months later to move out of there and move into an apartment
Yeah, let him go. Let
off
him let
post and all. And then I filled my freezer with good stuff.
not snakes. You know what else we did once too? We built a boat. I'm throwing the air quotes up, a boat.
A boat,
So
really?
we had the great idea of like we can build this boat raft so we can go out in the middle of this pond. It definitely won't sink. And honestly, it was cool. It can only fit two people in it. Um, and we did. We got this wood, we sealed it up, and we like when I say sealed it up, I mean we're talking like
Duct tape.
strength. Yeah, we're talking like desert island. This is our last shot. We got to get, not deserted island. We got to get off here. And so yeah, we did that, and we sat in it, and it's going like this. We're crouched over, and we pushed off, and we made it into the middle of the pond, and we're like, okay, we're here, and now what? And we're trying to get back, with these little sticks, and the thing's just doing this, and then eventually it just goes, and it just cracks, and I'm like, I'm out, and I jumped and just swam back. That thing went just floated, and then pieces just went all over the pond, and I was like, let's not do that again.
Oh, I lived on a street that had a mild hill, mild hill coming up and then a mild hill going down to the other side. And I grew up during the soapbox derby era, where you could build a soapbox derby and enter it into races. Well, we were never that sophisticated and all, but like I mentioned, you'd get two by fours and you attach an old pair of roller skates to it just to,
Yeah,
and it was always trying to figure out how to make the
turn it.
thing turn,
Yeah,
without a steering wheel or whatever, with a rope on either side, and
sure.
you just move that two by four just enough to make it move a little left or right. And then we'd build a second or third one, and then we'd have our own races and all until the police came along, and told us that we couldn't use the public street that way.
They frown on that, by the way.
Yeah. So you go on the next street where there was a wide enough sidewalk that you'd do
Yeah.
it. But I mean, it was. We also had a small group of trees in a park across the street from where we lived, and they were some pretty big oak trees. Well, those oak trees became the masts for pirate ships.
Mm,
You climb up and yell to each other on the next oak tree and everything. You're looking out over the park, which you thought
yeah,
was now an ocean.
sure.
And those were the days when we used our brain salad to create our own images, to create our own, theatrical productions, if you will. Uh,
Yeah.
the other thing was growing up, westerns were a real big thing. So
Mm,
again, some of those construction sites became forts to hide behind what was going on, and take out your cat pistols, and have your OK Corral duels.
battle. Yeah.
Yeah,
We Westerns weren't really a thing when I was growing up. They were kind of phased out. I'm not saying people didn't like them or anything, but it was
right.
not the popular, thing. Um, but yeah, I could see that. We did have a lot of BB guns. We did a lot of stuff with BB guns. We shot each other quite a bit with BB guns,
Yeah.
which was always smart.
You go out and get
Um,
get the solo cups and all, and
yeah,
put them up on the fence,
yeah.
to shoot at target practice.
We shot a couple rats before. We killed some rats, which was, looking at it, I don't feel bad. They're rats, but also I was like, glad we stopped at rats because then I would have questioned some of my friends where they were going to be the next Hannibal Lecter or something, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
or move into the neighborhood cats.
yeah, but we did rats. We used to go fishing, obviously, catch and release. We try to go, there was giant snapping turtles. We were trying to see if we could catch
Oh,
them. Then we would realize how big they were, and we're like, we're good, we're good. We're gonna leave this guy alone. But yeah, little things like that. And sometimes we would just there would be six, seven of us, like 10 of us, whatever, chilling at somebody's house. Three of them were shooting hoops, two were in the garage listening to music. Well, you know what I mean? Like nothing was happening. There'd be out of nowhere, my buddy Mike, my buddy Sean, they just get on their bikes. We'd all be at this house. They get on their bikes and dip out somewhere. We never asked questions. We didn't care. And then they'd come back, and then, it was just a hang spot. We knew we could be there.
yeah. You get together and you would just create your own adventures.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you learned how to make a lean-to, because if you were out and it started to rain, you wanted to have some kind of cover. So that was what your fort or whatever
Yeah.
became also. Unfortunately, fast forward to today, and all of that stuff is electronic. You
It
know,
is. Yeah. Yeah. It is.
I don't think that creative thought process exists as much with today's youth, because they have it right on their phones and their iPads and all. And and like you mentioned, we'd go out with a BB gun and we'd actually set up, cups, and then shoot at them. Now a kid can do that on an iPad and he can score 10,000 points.
And
You
I
know,
agree. But that, I mean, that also goes again back to like one of our previous shows. That goes to parents forcing their kids
yeah,
to do something. There is nothing wrong with telling your kid, no more electronics. I'm gonna go make dinner. I gotta do a couple things. Go entertain yourself.
yeah,
Well, what am I gonna do? Figure it out. And guess what? They might pout for a minute. They might. But I've done it with Luke. Hey, I'm gonna go make
yeah,
dinner. Can I go on my VR? No. You've had enough today. Let's do something else.
yeah.
What am I gonna do? And I said, I don't want you watching TV either. Well, what am I gonna do? And then he sits on the couch for a minute, lounged in like I just, took his life away. And then guess what he does? He disappears. And next thing I know, he's in his room. Maybe he's looking at his Pokemon cards, but nine times out of 10, he's busting something out. It could be his guys, it could be his big trucks. He could just be drawing because that's what he loves to do. And maybe he puts music on and he's just zoning out. They'll do it if you give them that opportunity. But if you keep feeding them the easy stuff, that's what they're going to do. They're just going to keep consuming the electronics. I saw a lot of kids the other day out and about here where I live, and I thought it was cool because they were two of them had skateboards, and they had this piece of wood in front of their garage, and they were just trying. And the kid, I talked to him. I try not to talk to kids because we live in a day and age. I swear, like you can be called a weirdo for saying hi,
Right,
Um,
right.
And so I'm like, I go, keep practicing, you're going to do fine. And I just kept walking, and I come by and he goes, hey, I almost got it. You want to see it? I'm like, sure. So I walked and he did half of it. I was like, see, I told you, man. But these kids were trying to learn something. And I was like, heck yeah. It felt like what you should be seeing when there's no school and what you should be seeing when the weather's outside
Yeah.
or nice out.
I have a niece and nephew that they've got one of their kids is a little rambunctious, and every once in a while they tell him just to go in his room, and he'll do the same thing. Well, what am I going to do? You find something to do, and then when you're finished, come out and tell us. And
Hmm.
the kid comes out a half hour later with a little something he made with his Legos.
That's
And all,
it.
you if you challenge a kid's creativity, they'll probably use it. If they're not challenged, it's just jello up there.
And that's what I tell Luke sometimes because they'd be like, hey, let's go play with guys. And he'll grab the same four guys and hand them to me. And he'll be like, okay, we're going to do this. And I go, Luke, we just did this. And it's fine if they want to play the same thing. I know there's a level of comfort to that,
Yeah,
but I'm like, we just we just did this exact same thing yesterday with the exact same guys. Why don't you grab some other guys? Because you have 500 of them
yeah,
and I'm tired of playing with the same guy, you know? So then he's like, ooh, well, what if we grab this and we do this? I'm like, because the kid's got imagination. He always has. But I know the older he gets and with the technology, I've got to do my best to like not lean into it. Now, there's some days, I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie, I'm beat down, tired.
Sure, sure.
He
But
doesn't want to play,
that should
buddy.
be that should
Let's
become the reward. You
yeah,
know.
let's get on Minecraft and build. Now we're back to Minecraft. We took a break from Minecraft for a while, but now we're back on Minecraft and it's cool because he's building this giant cathedral and I'm building, my house and I'm not as good as he is. And I'm better, but I'm building and I want a three-level house, so I'm building it. But it's really cool because he's got this cathedral vision and he's looking at pictures of real cathedrals while so I'm like, okay, it's more than just a video game. It's like electronic Legos almost.
Right, right.
So I don't mind doing that, but I don't want him to do it daily.
But the point of this whole conversation was that what the kids do today on an iPad or a computer with Minecraft, we used to do in reality when we were kids. Because if we saw that cathedral and said, let's build one. So you'd go over to the construction sites and you'd start
Yeah,
getting stuff and you'd turn that concept or whatever into something because
absolutely.
yeah, we did it with our hands.
Yeah, yep, I agree.
So
So get outside, get creative. And you
that's
know
it.
what? As an adult, if you've got kids and you're younger kids, go outside, go get dirty.
Right. Yeah, go out there, do it with them sometime. And then don't forget to come back and see us again next week. All right? Go out and make it a good one. Bye.
See you guys.